and now I will present you the last speakers for today. We have company Magnusson Helsinki Attorneys at Law Limited here. They are a full-service independent law firm and part of the Magnusson Law with offices in Copenhagen, Gothenburg, Helsinki, Minsk, Moscow, Stockholm, Warsaw, and strategic alliances covering all countries around the Baltic Sea. We have two speakers here in Lahti today, and they're also partners of Magnusson. Mr. Jan Lindberg focuses primarily on mergers and acquisitions and also helps IP and technology practice of Magnusson Helsinki Attorneys at Law. He has a proven track record from energy and clean tech sectors. And he's with Mr. Mika Lehtimäki, who focuses on mergers and acquisition and also heads the banking and finance group of Magnusson Helsinki. Mika has significant expertise in Finnish and international financial law, all types of mergers and acquisitions and corporate restructuring. So welcome Mika and Jan.
Thank you, Nina.
So thank you, Nina. And as said, we will focus on internationalization from legal and financing perspectives, and or as we like to call it, business or corporate structuring issues. As we have only 20 minutes of time, we go directly to our agenda without any further introductions. So what we will cover today is that we are going to discuss some basic structuring considerations and what do we mean by structuring. Then we will see how cleantech financing works, and after which we turn to look at different possibilities for creating international business and what kind of options you have there, like if you want to use holding companies, what might be the reasons for that, what issues you should consider when you establish a subsidiary abroad, and finally we end up with some financing questions and how they affect corporate structure, and hopefully are able to give you some thoughts and advices for your own financing discussions. So when we talk about basic structuring considerations, it's not only a legal exercise, it's an interplay between investors, accountants, business people and lawyers, and we are trying to find a configuration of the company that allows the best opportunities for your company's growth, investment, internationalization, and as said, eventually exit in some form. Why it is important and why it should be important also for very small companies, there are 2 points here. First of all, if you change your corporate structure and financial structure later on, it might have some consequences. For example, tax consequences, just to name one. But also, when your company develops and you want to grow your business, also investors, banks expect certain structures to be in place, and you're also required to have those structures if you want to move forward in the development of your company. Also, not to mention the fact that your company is more attractive if everything is under control. One interesting point here is that you see often in startup phase companies when you are in a transaction process is that you have several different projects within one company and one legal form. And what question is that should you have a separate legal structure for each project, or could you use that one particular form? And of course it depends on the case, but in certain cases you might get benefits from different legal structures. For example, different legal structures for each project reduces bankruptcy risk for the investor. So if one project fails, the other project remains unaffected. It reduces bankruptcy risk for lenders, and also it might create alternative exit strategies and allowing easy sale of your project. And finally, we have put here a picture from a previous case, and just to highlight the fact that this is not only a sort of external exercise how your company looks like, but it also involves internal discussions how your departments within your company work. And we use this picture as a basis in one project where we started to create a bankable business case and prepare a letter of intent roadmap for investment decisions, and pretty much all the elements that are here could be a separate department within one company, and naturally there the structuring point also relates to issues that what are the signing rights and hierarchy of the positions in different departments.
Right. Thank you, Jan. Now we'll move on to clean tech financing and financing structures. And first of all, what I'd like to say is that financing changes rapidly. Now, I'm a banking lawyer, and even I have a hard time figuring out what's going on but a day, you know. But the world is changing. There are some benchmarks that you can actually take, and we'll try to highlight some issues that clean tech companies face when growing. Now, this looks pretty tricky. Let's see if we have all right. Actually, the graph is intended to be structured in a way that time goes to the right, and the y-axis is your revenues. And the kind of the blurry line that goes upwards to the far upright corner would be your revenues. And as everybody understands, if this were true for all companies, we would be billionaires, not just a half of us. But you know, that's a good example. That's what a clean energy company revenue stream might look like. Now, in the first phase, what we have is so-called pre-commercial phase. You might have a product, you've been developing that for quite a while, R&D on the background, trying to build pilots and so forth. There's government support, business angels, seed capital, some venture capital activity as well, and some bank debt, very little at that stage. Now, we've been talking about the valley of death. The valley of death in clean tech financing and in finance in general is intended to be the time from the start of the technology development until the first commercial product that you can launch. And in clean tech financing, that's pretty tough. And valley of death is hard to fill, since there are few points that various investors keep as their kind of core rules. For example, banks do not take technology risk. That's why you don't have banks in the beginning. Just maybe a cash flow, some sort of that kind of issues. Now, it might be too risky for venture capital, and private equity is not going to be there. Private equity will come in later on. But you need to grow and expand. So what are you going to do? We're going to give some examples later on, but now we're going to move ahead. We're at the second stage, where you actually build, for example, for a clean energy company, your own plant. And that takes a lot of money. And that might be the first stage that you actually get the money in. Now, at the second stage, you normally need good customers, revenue streams, then venture capital is going to be important. So you need that, you're going to get that. But the thing that you'll end up is, once you get a good product, is you have to replicate that. You'll have to have a new plant, if you want to grow. And that's the realm of the project finance banker. And that's the stage where you have to probably have an own company for each plant, so that, you know, if one flows up, you know, it's not going to cause the whole group to go down. That's one of the key elements. So that's project finance, and that's bank money, and that's normally, for the last decade, that's been 55% of the whole value of clean tech investment in the whole world.